Welcome everyone to Coin New Yen Review channel. Before we dive into today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so more people can discover us. Enjoy the show. Never could have dreamed. On the wedding day, my wife suddenly sent me on a business trip out of town. By the time I rushed back, all the guests at the scene had already left. Only a bare poster remained. The man in the photo was none other than my wife's personal assistant. I had planned to go home and demand an explanation from Liu Wuyan, only to catch her and her assistant cheating on the sofa. Seeing me appear, the assistant, far from panicking, mocked me, "Yi fan, your inferior genes aren't even worthy of entering Lia's body. Tonight let me take your place in the bridal chamber." I stood there stunned for a few seconds, then gave him a faint smile. "The sofa's too small. Why don't you two move to the bed?" As soon as the words left my mouth, my wife shot up from the sofa. "Yi fan, you're nothing but a dog I keep, aren't you? And now you dare threaten me. Even if I sleep with someone else right in front of you today, what can you do about it? Don't think just because we're married you own me. In this lifetime, I'll never let you touch my bed." I waved my hand dismissively, unfazed. "Since you've said as much, then I'm relieved." But still, halfway through my words, I suddenly drew out my tone. "I should remind you of one thing. Even if there's no love between us, at the very least we're still husband and wife in name. If today's events get out, your Liu family's reputation will be completely ruined." I meant to offer sincere advice, but this arrogant woman before me wouldn't listen at all. "Yi, I'm warning you. Stop using my father to threaten me. If it weren't for him back then, would I have married a useless man like you? Now, I've successfully taken over the entire Liu group. As the chairman, I naturally have the right to choose my own husband." I struggled to suppress the rage within me. My gaze locked fiercely onto her. "Liu Ryan, if this is the reason, you've misunderstood me. I can explain everything clearly, but you deliberately sent me away on a business trip today and replaced the groom with someone else. Don't you think you've done anything wrong?" After hearing my words, Liu Ryan's emotions suddenly flared. "Wrong? What have I done wrong? You've been freeloading off me for so long, without contributing anything to our family. Why should I marry you at the end?" Liu Ryan roared at me. "If it weren't for my father's sake, I'd have divorced you long ago." I couldn't listen anymore and shouted back at Liu Ryan, "I'm done talking about the past, because no matter what I say you won't believe me. Now I just want you to give me an explanation." As I spoke, my eyes suddenly sharpened, pointing at the smug assistant nearby. "Why is this man in our home?" As soon as I finished, Liu Ryan burst into laughter. "Explanation? What explanation do I owe you? Let me make one thing clear. This is my house, and you're just a dog I keep. My assistant is younger than you, and a top graduate from overseas. Only someone with his genes is worthy of me." I fought hard to restrain the urge to lash out. Again and again I held back. "You always think I'm not good enough, don't you?" But this time, before Liu Ryan could respond, the assistant stepped forward first. "Filthy loser, why don't you take a good look in the mirror? A useless freeloader like you. How could you ever be worthy of Liu?" I turned my head, coldly eyeing this so-called top graduate from overseas. "Assistant MEI, do you think sleeping with someone else's wife is something to be proud of?" Faced with my biting sarcasm, Assistant MEI acted utterly unconcerned. "Men, you know, it all comes down to strength. And as it happens, my strength surpasses yours. If you can't keep your wife in check, who's to blame for that?" Halfway through his words, the assistant suddenly burst into laughter, his eyes filled with provocation. "Mr. Yi, how about this? When Liu and I head to the bridal chamber later, you can stand by and watch. That way your trip today won't be in vain." At those words, Liu Ryan, standing nearby, immediately blushed and looked down. Moments later, the two of them actually started kissing, right in front of me. I suppressed my nausea, my brows furrowed tightly. Enough. Since Chairman Liu has found her so-called true love, I won't bother trying to salvage this. But the cost of this betrayal, are you sure your Liu family can bear it? As soon as I spoke, the Liu family relatives who'd come to stir up trouble, instantly grew unhappy. Filthy loser, who do you think you're threatening? Our Liu family in Jinhai is at the very least a top-tier elite family. What are you supposed to be? Exactly. If he were really that capable, how could he willingly become a kept man in our Liu family? That's right. A man who can't even keep his wife in line is worse than a dog. The insults around me grew louder and louder, but I didn't care at all, because what I just said wasn't the least bit exaggerated. The Liu Group went from a small company of just a few people 3 years ago to the listed corporation with tens of thousands of employees it is today, all thanks to me alone, or rather thanks to the power behind me. And it had nothing to do with these morally bankrupt Liu family members. Back when the Liu Group was on the brink of bankruptcy, Liu Ryan's father Liu Zhenshin traveled 1,000 miles from Jinhai to the capital just to meet me. He held a marriage contract and knelt at the gate of my courtyard for 3 days and 3 nights. Seeing his sincere attitude, I softened and agreed. But never could I have imagined that after I quietly propped up the Liu Group to its current heights, they'd turn around and call me useless. And now even my wife has run off with someone else. Right then I decided to confront Liu Zhenshin to ask him face-to-face whether the Liu family intended to burn bridges. If he continued to let Liu Ryan serve as chairman, I wouldn't mind bringing the Liu family back to where they were 3 years ago. You stop right there. The moment I turned to leave, Liu Ryan's voice rang out. I paused my steps, slowly turning back. What? Does Miss Liu have some special fetish that requires someone to cheer her on from the sidelines? Liu Ryan glared at me fiercely, coldly saying, Yifan, don't say I didn't warn you. If you dare kick him out of my Liu family's door today, I'll divorce you immediately. I fell silent for a moment, then sighed softly. Chairman Liu, you've probably wanted to divorce me for a long time, haven't you? As I spoke, my gaze swept across the room, coldly declaring, you Liu family members living off the Liu Group's scraps, listen carefully. If anyone dares to stop me today, they'll bear the consequences. As soon as I finished, the room erupted again. Every face was filled with anger. People rolled up their sleeves ready to pounce. Even those few who were usually closer to me chose to distance themselves from me. Is this the quality of the Liu family? It seems now, 3 years was too short a time to grow the Liu Group to this level. For the Liu family, it was too fast. Seeing me surrounded by enemies, Assistant Mi's face lit up with glee. Yi, if you know what you're talking about, even in all of Jinhai, the Liu Group is a top-tier existence. You, a mere kept man, think you can bring down the Liu family? That's just a pipe dream. I smiled, looking at him calmly. And what if I'm telling the truth? Assistant I raised an eyebrow, his eyes full of disdain, not taking my words seriously at all. Even Chairman Liu doesn't want you. What qualifications do you have to act tough in front of the shareholders? I shook my head lightly, holding back a laugh. Assistant I'm not like you. Yifan never rely on others to get things done. Before I could finish, the room exploded again. Filthy loser, who do you think you are, daring to threaten our shareholders? Exactly. You'd think he's some big shot, when he's just a useless freeloader. If you don't apologize to everyone today, don't even think about leaving the Liu family alive. They mocked me as they spoke, looking utterly thrilled. As an astute businessman, sharp insight is a basic skill. From the moment I walked in, I noticed some shareholders exchanging glances with the assistant, constantly stoking the tension between Liu Ryan and me. Now it seems this group had planned it all along. Their sole purpose today was to drive me out of the Liu family and let Assistant Mi take my place, to seize even greater profits. What a pity! The new chairman of the Liu Group is still completely in the dark, unaware that her company is in crisis. This scene before me, even I, the behind-the-scenes boss, can't stand to watch. If I'm not mistaken, you few must be acquainted with Assistant Mi, right? As soon as I spoke, someone in the crowd immediately gave themselves away. You little brat! What nonsense are you spouting? We have nothing to do with Assistant MEI. Exactly. We just think you're not worthy of Chairman Liu. That's why we're standing up to support him. Couldn't have said it better. A freeloading waste like him absolutely cannot stay in our Liu family. I gave them a cold glance, slowly saying, everyone, I completely understand your eagerness to kick me out of the Liu family, but still halfway through my words, I suddenly raised my voice, my expression growing far more serious. I'm someone who doesn't take kindly to pressure. If you all knelt and begged me, I might actually agree. The sudden burst of my aura terrified the shareholders. None dared to speak, but Assistant MEI, emboldened by the chairman's favor, bravely stepped forward. Listen, I'm giving you face here. A lowly kept man of the Liu family, daring to lecture our company's shareholders. Do you have a death wish? As he spoke, he suddenly turned to Liu Wuyan nearby, his eyes gleaming. Chairman Liu, if you love me, divorce this useless man. I swear to you, I'll do my utmost to support you and make the Liu group even greater. I didn't interrupt, just quietly stood by watching his performance. If Liu Ryan firmly rejected him, I'd consider sparing the Liu family. But if she remained stubborn and insisted on divorcing me, she can't blame me. After a pause, Liu Ryan suddenly slapped her thigh. Good. I'll listen to you. Since all the shareholders are here today, I'm done with this useless man for good. Before anyone could react, Liu Ryan quickly turned to me. Yi Fan, let's divorce. I looked at her expressionlessly, my tone neither cold nor warm. Miss Liu, have you really thought this through? Faced with Liu Ryan's repeated provocations, I didn't choose to tear into her, but held back time and again it because I was weak, but because I'd promised Liu Zhenshin back then, no matter what I wouldn't abandon her. But my constant concessions only brought endless mockery in return. Liu Ryan gave a cold snort, looking at me with disdain. Yi Fan, you're like a leech clinging to me. All you want is money, isn't it? Today I'll satisfy you, as long as you agree to divorce me. Name your price. I let out a deep sigh. No need. I believe it won't be long before your Liu group goes bankrupt. I don't want you crying and begging me for money later. As I spoke, my tone suddenly shifted. My gaze locked onto her. Miss Liu, let me warn you one last time. This assistant by your side isn't anything good. He's approaching you with an agenda. Liu Ryan thought I was trying to drive a wedge between them. Her face darkened instantly. Yi, don't think I don't know what you're up to. My man isn't for you to judge. It wasn't until I heard Liu Ryan's words that the last shred of goodwill I had for the Liu family vanished completely. I was just a bit curious. When the truth comes out one day, what kind of expression shall have? Fine, since you're so certain you're right. I won't try to persuade you anymore. I'll agree to the divorce. But first I need to make a call to your father. Liu Ryan thought I was just making an excuse to hold on to her. With a smug look, Yi Fan, don't say I didn't warn you. No matter who you call to plead my case, this marriage is over today. After she finished, I quickly waved my hand. Good. Your word is enough. With that, I pulled out my phone and dialed Liu Zhenshin. Hello. This is Yi Fan. The voice on the other end sounded especially great. After all, in the entire Liu family, only he knew about the power behind me. Mr. Yi, what are your orders? I glanced at the couple opposite me, hands intertwined, coldly saying, Liu Zhenshin, from now on, your Liu family and I have no ties. Immediately after, the sound of a cup shattering on the floor came through. Mr. Yi, Mr. Yi, is it my daughter? Before I could respond, the assistant eagerly snatched the phone. Uncle Liu, and Chairman Li's assistant. Yi Fan, this filthy loser isn't worthy of you. Please don't be stubborn and keep him in the Liu family. As long as you agree to let me be with Chairman Liu, I guarantee it'll take the Liu group to new heights. Even through the phone I could feel Liu Zhenshin's rage. So it's you forcing my daughter to divorce Mr. Yi. Assistant. At this moment he still didn't realize who had offended. Still acting nonchalant, that's right, it's me. In all of Jinhai, only I am worthy of Chairman Liu. Yi Fan, he's nothing but a useless waste. Without him, the Liu family will thrive even more. After saying this, He slammed the phone to the ground and even stomped on it a few times. Alright, you've made your call. Time to keep your promise right. The assistant had one arm around my wife, the other handing me a divorce. Look, I've even prepared it for you. Sign it already. Looking at the stack of papers on the table, it only confirmed my earlier suspicions. This man was clearly trying to step over me to climb higher. I don't know why, but when I saw Liu Ryan and hesitatingly take the divorce agreement, I was so excited I nearly jumped. The moment I signed, the Liu family's door was suddenly pushed open. A distinguished middle-aged man walked in panting heavily. The room fell into dead silence. Everyone was too scared to breathe. The moment the man appeared, Liu Ryan immediately rushed up. Dad, you're here just in time. Let me introduce you to my new boyfriend. Seeing this scene, the head of the Liu family instantly understood. The first thing he did was ignore his own daughter and walk straight to me. Bowing deeply, Mr. Yi, I'm so sorry. I failed to discipline my daughter. I quickly helped him up, or else I'd owe him another favor. Old Liu, you don't need to be so polite with me. I've already signed the divorce agreement. From now on, you're you and me, and I have no ties to the Liu family. Liu Zhenshin opened his mouth wanting to say something, but seeing my grim expression, he turned his fury on his daughter. With a loud slap, 5 bright red fingerprints appeared on Liu Ryan's face. You fool, do you know what you've done? Liu Ryan was clearly stunned by the slap, looking at her father in confusion. Dad, why did you hit me? I just want to pursue my own happiness. Can't you even grant me that? Seeing this, I only gave a faint smile. Divorce, no problem, but you've picked the wrong person to divorce. After hearing my words, Liu Ryan immediately exploded. She'd clearly forgotten the slap her father just gave her. Listen, I'm warning you, stop smirking at me. Why can't I divorce you? I'm the chairman of a listed company, and you're just a useless freeloader. Once I'm done with you, what kind of man can't I find in this world? I remained silent, my smile unwavering. The truth would soon reveal itself, and when that day comes, I was curious to see what kind of expression she'd have. Since you're so sure of your choice, I won't say anything more. Let's proceed with the divorce. But I wonder, when the Liu group collapses, will you still be this confident? Liu Ryan sneered, unfazed. You think you can scare me with empty threats? Without you, the Liu family will only soar higher, and I'll find a man 1,000 times better than you. Liu Zhenshin, exhausted from his hurried journey, finally caught his breath, only to be enraged by his daughter's words, his body trembling with fury. Liu Ryan, shut up. I don't care what your reasons are. Apologize to Mr. Yi right now. Don't say I didn't warn you. If you can't earn Mr. Yes forgiveness today, I'd rather not have a daughter like you. Liu Zhenshin's words were firm and resolute, clearly reaching every ear in the room. Assistant MEI, who was insufferably arrogant just moments ago, stood there dumbfounded. He couldn't fathom, no matter how he tried, how a mere kept man of the Yi family could earn such regard from Liu Zhenshin. No, regard isn't even the right word, it was respect. Old man Liu, have you gone senile? How could you grovel before such a useless thing, and even demand his forgiveness? Isn't he just an orphan you brought back from out of town 3 years ago? Is it really worth making such a fuss? The shareholders of the Liu Group, hearing the assistant's words, nodded in agreement, but Liu Zhenshin alone didn't share their view. Perhaps to outsiders, having retired from the company for so long, he seemed old and out of touch, unable to read the current situation. But only I knew. His sole purpose in doing this was to win my favor, making a final effort to save the Liu family. I found an excellent vantage point to observe the chaos, handing the stage to this former chairman of the Liu Group for now. And indeed, Liu Zhenshin's performance didn't disappoint me. At his advanced age, he pointed at the assistant's nose, cursing loudly. So you're the assistant my daughter hired. As the founder of this company, I order you to apologize to Mr. Yi, or I'll make sure you're blacklisted from the entire industry. With that, he cast aside his cane, standing tall in front of me. Anyone who dares disrespect Mr. Yi again today will be expelled from the Liu family and never allowed back. Liu Zhenshin's words were like the final straw crushing the assistant's resolve. The shareholders who had colluded with him now buried their heads in their chests, fearing they'd be implicated. As the scene reached a stalemate, Liu Ryan, this reckless woman, stepped forward. "Dad, what are you doing? Before you got here, this useless he fan said he'd make our Liu group go bankrupt. How can you still side with him?" Liu Ryan exaggerated as she spoke to her father, sneering at me all the while. She naively thought that by invoking the Liu group, Liu Zhenchen would agree to her divorce. But she was wrong, utterly and completely wrong, because from start to finish, the power of choice rested firmly in my hands. After tonight, whether the Liu group would go bankrupt or survive depended entirely on my mood. Seeing me stay silent, Liu Ryan thought I was intimidated, resuming her earlier arrogance. But before she could take another step, Liu Zhenchen's palm struck again. "Liu Ryan, how could I have raised a daughter like you?" Everyone could see that this slap carried at least 80% of his strength. Liu Ryan's cheek swelled on the spot. She stared at her father in shock, tears welling in her eyes. "Dad, in all my life, you've never laid a hand on me. Are you really going to beat your own daughter to death for this useless man today?" Liu Ryan's words cut deep, and Liu Zhenchen's expression began to waver. On one side was the Liu group had built from scratch, on the other his own daughter. What kind of decision could protect both the Liu family and keep his daughter unharmed? This business legend, well over 60, lowered his head in thought. But how could I let this go so easily? Being publicly cuckolded. If I didn't settle this score, I probably wouldn't sleep at night. "Old man Liu, have you decided what to choose? Save the Liu group or save your daughter? Give me your final answer." As soon as I spoke, the long silent room erupted again. The shareholders, bought off by assistant MEI, thinking they'd finally found an opportunity, stepped forward at once. "You little punk, you've got some nerve, daring to threaten even our chairman Liu. Don't you want to leave here alive?" "Exactly. I don't know who's been stirring up trouble between the Liu family's women. This guy's up to no good." Exactly. The Liu family's business spans all of Jinhai. You think we'd be scared of you? As the chatter grew louder, Liu Zhenchen's face grew darker. This old fox who'd lived most of his life was far sharper than Liu Ryan, a naive newcomer. He saw through it all in an instant. The purpose of these people standing here today was to goad his daughter into divorcing me, and assistant MEI, the beneficiary, was naturally their trump card. "Shut the hell up!" Liu Zhenchen roared at the crowd, his commanding aura bursting forth. The instigating shareholders shrank back in fear, hiding in the furthest corners, terrified of being noticed. Who was it just now supporting my daughter's divorce from Mr. Yi? "Step forward." Liu Zhenchen's gaze swept over everyone present, but no one dared to come forward. At that moment, assistant MEI, the mastermind, started playing his little tricks again. "Uncle Liu, don't make things hard for your own family." Halfway through his words, he stole a glance at me, then continued, "Haven't you seen it yet? Everyone here thinks this useless guy isn't worthy of Chairman Liu." As soon as he finished, Liu Zhenchen raised his cane and smashed it hard against the assistant's head. Assistant MEI had no time to react, blood streaming down his face on the spot. Seeing this, Liu Ryan's heart ached terribly. She rushed over, kneeling before her father. "Dad, I beg you, stop hitting him." Assistant MEI was only looking out for me, for the good of our Liu group. That's why he said those things. I don't even like the Livine son-in-law you picked for me. Assistant MEI and I are true love. Hearing his daughter's words, Liu Zhenchen nearly fainted on the spot. "Fine, you two are trying to defy the heavens, aren't you?" His face full of rage, he pointed at the assistant writhing in pain on the floor, gritting his teeth. "It's you who seduced my daughter, isn't it? As the founder of this company, I'm officially notifying you. You're fired." As soon as he spoke, the crowd erupted in commotion. The shareholders, who saw the tide turning against them, slowly stepped forward. But before they could speak, Liu Zhenchen waved his hand sharply. "Guards, throw these people out." Still not satisfied, He pulled out his phone in front of all the shareholders. Hello. This is Liu Zhenshin. Prepare 3 share transfer contracts immediately. Pay them what? They colluded with outsiders to swallow my company. Not turning them over to the police is already more than they deserve. After hanging up, Liu Zhenshin turned immediately, looking at the shareholders, who'd just pleaded for assistant MEI. So it was you lot who egged my daughter onto divorce. I'm giving you 10 minutes to pack your things and get out of my sight. The older shareholders were stunned on the spot, still trying to argue, but I gave them no chance to speak. No wonder Hayes, the former chairman of the Liu Group, in just a few minutes, he rooted out the company's traders. Unlike some people who don't even realize their company was nearly sold out from under them and are still counting money for others. My words were deliberately aimed at Liu Ryan. After all, Wed just divorced, and some things needed to be made clear. Otherwise, people might think I was in cahoots with them. But even with things spelled out so clearly, Liu Ryan still didn't see that she'd been used. She glared at me fiercely. I'm telling you, I don't care what tricks you pulled to make my dad protect you like this. But I'm telling you, this marriage is over. No turning back. A useless freeloader like you is nowhere near worthy of me. After being insulted all night, I'd long grown immune to her taunts. There's an old saying after all. You can never wake someone pretending to sleep. Miss Liu, you've misunderstood. I never wanted you to turn back. The only reason I called your dad here was to let him see what a failure his chosen successor is. Believe me or not, it makes no difference to me. After all, we've already signed the divorce papers. With those final words, I quietly sat back down. Liu Zhenshin, the only one who knew the truth, wished he could slap himself senseless. Bypassing Liu Ryan, he grabbed the assistant by the collar, roaring, "Speak! Who sent you assistant MEI?" The assistant, terrified by Liu Zhenshin's sudden intensity, stammered, unable to get a word out. Seeing this, I couldn't help but stand up slowly again. Uncle Liu, I'll help you one last time. Consider it repaying the debt my father owed your family years ago. As I spoke, I walked toward assistant MEI. He stared at me in terror, trembling uncontrollably. At that moment, everyone's eyes turned to me in unison. The next second, I lifted my leg and kicked assistant MEI square in the chest. A tiny camera fell from his body instantly, its red light still flickering. Seeing this, Liu Ryan was utterly stunned. She covered her mouth, pointing at the assistant I'd sent flying. Why would you bring something like that to my house? Assistant MEI, gasping for breath from my kick, couldn't respond. Liu Zhenshin's face twisted with disappointment. Why else? To record evidence of your affair, of course. From the moment I walked in, I'd noticed the camera hidden on assistant me's chest. But before I could say anything, Liu Ryan, this woman attacked me like a madwoman. If I'm not mistaken, this man was probably sent by your Liu family's rivals, right? At those words, the room erupted in shock, because recently the Liu Group had indeed been competing with an out-of-town company for a project. If a video of the Liu Group's chairman cheating leaked at this critical moment, the consequences would be unthinkable. Uncle Liu, I'll leave this guy to you. What you do with him is none of my concern. Hearing my words, assistant MEI got up to flee, but he forgot this was Liu family territory. The surrounding Liu relatives could drown him in spit alone. The moment assistant MEI was dragged away, Liu Ryan, still unwilling to accept it, approached him. MEI Jibo, so you've been lying to me all along. The named assistant tried to make one last struggle, but before he could speak, Liu Zhenshin, standing nearby, backhanded him with a slap. Full shut your mouth. Stop embarrassing me. He brought a camera into our home, and you still ask if Hayes lying to you? Liu Ryan, having never seen her father so furious, retreated in fear as assistant MEI and the traders were dragged out of the Liu family. Everyone present turned grateful eyes toward me. After all, without me today, the Liu Group would likely have been doomed. As the Liu family's representative Liu Zhenshin trembled as he approached me, bowing deeply at 90 degrees. Mr. Yi, thank you so much today. If it weren't for you, before he could finish, I quickly raised my hand to stop him. Uncle Liu, if already said, I helped you only to repay the debt from years ago. Now I owe the Liu family nothing. Liu Ryan looked at me awkwardly. Yi fan, I was wrong before. If you still want to stay with the Liu family, I'll have the divorce papers voided right now. I gave her a faint mocking smile. Sneering Miss Liu, do you think I'd stay with someone who cheated on me? Liu Ryan was left speechless, unable to argue back. Seeing this, Liu Zhenshin cautiously stepped forward. Mr. Yi, how about this? I'll have Ryan hand over the Liu Group chairman position to you. As soon as he spoke, Liu Ryan immediately objected. Dad, have you really gone senile? The Liu Group is your life's work. How could you hand it to an outsider? Liu Zhenshin glared fiercely at his daughter, then roared, you still have the nerve to ask me why? If it weren't for Mr. Yes' help back then, our Liu family would have gone bankrupt long ago. Let me tell you again, without Mr. Yi there'd be no Liu Group today. Do you understand? Liu Ryan was stunned by her father's roar. Moments later, she looked at me in disbelief. Yi fan, who are you really? What happened 3 years ago? Why does my dad keep calling you Mr. Yi? Just as I was about to speak, Liu Zhenshin, fearing his daughter might say something wrong again, stepped forward first. Ryan, don't you still understand why I made you marry Mr. Yi back then? Anyone else and I wouldn't care, but you had to offend Mr. Yi. Didn't you always ask me when we could expand our business to Jincheng? The Yi family is the richest in Jincheng. Liu Zhenshin's words rang with authority, silencing the entire room. No wonder the Gu family could build such a vast business. It was inseparable from this Liu Group founder's decisive leadership. That marriage contract from 3 years ago was the best proof. After hearing her father's words, Liu Ryan's mouth fell open, and everyone present looked at me with entirely different eyes than before, filled with awe. While the crowd was still buzzing about my identity, Liu Ryan fell to her knees before me, tears streaming down her face. Husband, I was blind and misunderstood you. I looked at her expressionlessly, coldly saying, Miss Liu, you should thank your dad for arriving in time to save you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the chance to kneel here and talk. Liu Ryan kowtowed and pleaded desperately. Husband, I really know I was wrong. I was deceived before. Can we start over? I promise I'll listen to you from now on and never stray again. By the end, Liu Ryan was sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't know you were our family's benefactor. I curled my lips slightly, slowly standing up. Liu Ryan, I once thought you were just a bit willful, but I never imagined you dared to cheat. If I hadn't noticed something was off this time, you'd probably have gone to the bridal chamber with that assistant, wouldn't you? The Liu family better keep a low profile from now on, or I won't mind bankrupting you again. My final words were also meant for Uncle Liu, making my stance clear, while giving face to this legendary Liu Group founder. After all, it was true that our Yi family owed him a favor, or I'd never have agreed to this marriage. The father and daughter exchanged a glance, both lowering their heads in unison. Liu Zhenshin tried to persuade me to stay, but I refused outright. Uncle Liu, if already done more than enough for your family, please don't try to convince me anymore. With those final words, I turned and left with confidence. As for what would become of the Liu family, that was no longer my concern. I'd repaid the debt from years ago and left the Liu family with enough dignity. On the return flight, I received a text from Liu Ryan. It was short and simple. Just one line, Yi fan. I'm sorry. I read it, deleted it, and blocked her. Years later, when I returned to Jinhai, the Liu Group no longer existed. The end.